Let's discuss about the carbohydrate metabolism. So this slide I took over from a very good book, White and White, and you can see straightforwardly, metabolism itself is a very complex, continuous reaction in each and every cell of a body, and so one after another things are going on just for one purpose, that is called energy purpose. So whatever we have, we are giving fuel to a cell, and in that I will cover this particular thing, which is colored gray color. So carbohydrate metabolism, how this carbohydrate metabolic pathway associated with many clinical aspects. And you know that metabolism, just for like I have added few more slides for any of a student which are very like from very various background and having not discussed these things by their teachers, so just to educate them. So like metabolism, you know, it is a two-way process. One is catabolism and another is anabolism. There are many students which are confused with catabolism and anabolic reaction because we are coming from various vernacular languages. So you know we sometimes whenever they're in interviews, I also find that when I ask a student and they forget about what is catabolism and what is anabolism, although they know it. So I have evolved one thing that in alphabetically C and D is are all together. So D means degradation. So anyway, if we come across with catabolism, sometimes something is breaking down, and A and B are all together in alphabetically. So B means biosynthesis. So anabolism means something is building up. So biosynthesis of biomolecules is anabolism because A and B are all together. So you say A के बाद B आता है, similarly C के बाद B आता है, so D degradation. So in this way we can understand catabolism and anabolism. So whenever you are breaking something, you are releasing energy, and when you are building something, you require energy. Okay, so this is how we can understand the metabolic processes in each cell. So one process release energy, one process require energy to complete the process. Like if we talk about the biomolecules metabolism, whatever you are having is, eventually going into energy pathway. So whether you are having carbohydrates and whether you are having lipids, whether you are having proteins in your diet, so eventually they turn up to reach at particular point followed by energy metabolism. So everything is energy. So if you don't like, if cell is not having enough energy, cell won't survive or the system collapse. So it has three major steps. One is digestion and hydrolysis. Once like all the biomolecules follow this pathway, then you have degradation followed by oxidation and then the energy release. uh, in carbohydrate, this cycle, this type of all the common pathways are integrated each other. So like uh, generally each cell having the glucose is major energy source of each and every cell. However, only this what you call sperm cell require fructose through the sorbitol pathway. However, other cells need glucose for their energy production. The glucose converts into pyruvate by the glycolysis, the cycle. Glyco means carbohydrate, and lysis means breakdown. The carbohydrate breakdown, so like glucose breakdown into pyruvate, and then the pyruvate fate determine of after the like availability of oxygen. If oxygen is available, this goes to TCA cycle, that is tricarboxylic cycle, or if oxygen is not available, it goes into either lactate or alcohol. So alcohol production is majorly found in yeast because they have alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme system, whereas we have lactose dehydrogenase system in human and mammal. So we convert pyruvate into lactate. So this is a common pathway. However, when our body produce more, like whenever there is no oxygen, like in external exercise and also in cancerous condition, our cells in cancerous condition cells require condition or hypoxia condition. So in hypoxia condition, you know that pyruvate convert into lactate because there is no much oxygen available. So this lactate again goes to liver and convert into again glucose by the pathway, and this is we call Cori cycle. Similarly, when you have enough glucose, like nowadays, we you know that people eat while watching TVs, watching that things, and they eat overeating. So we'll all come also this. So now the extra glucose after the and completing the energy fuel requirement, it convert into glycogen in our liver and muscles only. However, if you have still more glucose, which is like sufficing your need of the glycogenesis and uh, normal glycolysis, the stored glucose converted into fat in fat tissues. And you know that every 4 hour, the stored glycogen would be depleted and convert because if you there is a if you have like a meal and there is a 4 to 5 hour gap between the meal, the stored glycogen would be depleted and converted into glucose. So this process called glycogenolysis, that glycogen is depleted. And suppose if your body is suffering with like if your body is not having enough carbohydrate for producing energy, like in case of diabetes, there is no much glucose because your body cannot store glucose into form of glycogen, and there is no way to store glucose. So excess glucose is removed by the body, and in that case, you do not have enough carbohydrate molecule for the energy production. In that case, the stored protein or lipid or other sources utilize in the like it can convert into energy source glucose. So the process called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis, again, we can break down the word like gluco means carbohydrate, neo means new formation, genesis means new formation. So new glucose formation from non-carbohydrate sources called gluconeogenesis. So this is how a single cell trying to survive by these pathways. So normal glycolysis, then you have glycogenesis, then glycogenolysis, then gluconeogenesis, and then co-recycle. So this is all how a normal cell behaving. You know that carbohydrate, why we give much emphasis on carbohydrate, because it is abundant organic molecule on earth. And if we talk about like how if we call in chemically, so it is a polyhydroxyl alcohol or ketones. And so has a common formula by which we can generate it carbohydrate. And if we talk about their classification, it is divided into different types like monosaccharides. Monosaccharides means only a single unit after the hydrolysis, no further units can be produced or can be converted. So monosaccharides are like a single unit. So the examples are glucose, fructose, ribose, and so on and so forth. Then we have another category that is called disaccharides. So disaccharides means you have two monosaccharidic units joined all together by glycosidic bond, and they have different, like they have varied functions and characteristics. So sucrose or home table sugar is example of sucrose. Then the milk sugar lactose is also, so in that we have sucrose, glucose, and fructose, whereas in lactose we have galactose and glucose are the monosaccharidic units. Also, our body can digest monosaccharide and disaccharide since we have enzymes in the system. However, the another category is called oligosaccharides, where we are considering more than 2 units and less than 10 units altogether joining. So, if more than 2 and less than 10 units are joining, we call oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides are having again varied functions. However, human body cannot cannot digest through the enzyme. So our gut microbiota specifically help to digest oligosaccharides. So like maltodextrose and raffinose and all these are examples of oligosaccharides. Similarly, the last category, which is in terms of unit arrangement, is polysaccharides. So polysaccharides means more than 10 like units, n number of units can join all together by glycosidic bond and forming polymer. So it's a polymer of carbohydrate, and we have plenty of polysaccharides surrounded in nature, like starch, which is a stored food of plant, potato, and all plants, major plants having starch as a stored material. So plant also save uh, energy for their rainy days or for the future. Similarly, cellulose is also a polysaccharide, which is like a majorly part of cell wall in bacteria and plants and all. Dextrin and dextran also, like there are multiple units. Generally, they are part of glucose, but also considered. So this is how we have many polysaccharides. So starch, cellulose, and we have glycogen in human body is a stored material of energy. So glycogen is also a polysaccharide. If we talk about the function of carbohydrates, carbohydrates provide 4 kilocalories per gram of energy. You know that it is like. However, if we compare about the fat provide 9 kilocalories per gram. So fat always provide more than double energy compared to carbohydrate. However, carbohydrates are providing instant energy. You must have heard many TV news advertisement that people says that instant energy boost instant energy and all. So whenever you require instant energy, you require carbohydrate. However, when you want endurance energy for prolonged energy, you require fat. So in human system or in mammalian system, we have a source of energy that is stored energy is glycogen, which is generally stored in muscles, specifically cardiac muscles and liver. And whenever there is a requirement of energy and you are not having food, that time the glycogen depleted or converted into glucose. However, muscle glycogen cannot be utilized by other body parts. Only muscles generally use it, and the major source of glucose conversion of glycogen is in muscles. Whereas liver glycogen can be utilized by other part of body. Similarly, starch is also a stored material of glucose or carbohydrate, and that too in plants. So whenever you have excess carbohydrate, it convert into fat. So like there is a I just now said that overeating. People either eat fastly or like watching TVs and all. They don't. So they are disturbing their hormones called ghrelin and leptin. So in that case, if you have excess carbohydrate, it is converted into fat. So whatever fat in your body, it is not because of fat. It is because of carbohydrate. And then we have another conjugated carbohydrate that we call glycoproteins, glycolipids. They have varied functions like cell membrane, cell receptors, and all. So similarly, cytoskeleton and also are part of conjugated carbohydrates. If you talk about their biomedical applications, glucose is the major source of energy for almost all tissues. It converts, so like tissues in normal metabolism. So when you are facing or you're having some sort of disease or disorders, probably your body will shift on other biomolecules. Like in diabetes, brain and muscles shift to lipids. It convert into glycogen whenever like our body convert glycogen of excess glucose, and once your glycogen quota is completed, the excess glucose convert into fat. Also, there is another pathway called hexose monoshunt pathway where ribose sugar produced. So ribose sugar is a backbone or is a material for nucleic acid, DNA, and RNA, and like other energy sources, ATP also having sugars involved. Similarly, galactose is obtained from milk sugar, and so far it has been known that galactose sugar is very much required for early brain development. Those kids which are not having enough galactose or having uh, lactose intolerance problem since birth, they have less brain development. So galactose is a milk sugar found in lactose and required for early brain development. We have glycoprotein, proteoglycans, and all. So they are like part of lipoproteins. Lipoproteins are like a protein which is having lipids. So we have LDL, that is we call generally bad cholesterol, also having lipoproteins and all. And glycocolicts are stored plant in the extra membrane in most of bacteria in earlier organisms. So glycocalyx is also part of like it's a carbohydrate. So it has huge application in all organisms and diverse area. You know that whatever food you are having, it's converted into simple molecules by different enzymes and gastric juices, and then they have two ways, whether it is go in anabolic way or in catabolic way. So in anabolic way, they produce the body function molecules, like protein, carbs, lipids, and nucleic acid, and in anabolic way they convert into CO2, water, and energy fuel production. So actually carbohydrates are nothing. If we obtain carbohydrate from plant in the form of photosynthesis, glucose, and actually we are harvesting energy, which is sunlight energy. How these carbohydrates or glucose internalize into system. So if you have like having carbohydrate in diet and it's come through the different glut transporters. So we have various glut transporters. They internalize glucose molecule from your small intestine to bloodstream through the portal vein, which is near to the small intestine. So once they internalize and they again reach to nearby cell, there they are again internalized by the insulin receptor. So we have different type of glut transporters like GLUT1. GLUT1 is present in in is insulin independent transporter majorly found in brain, hepatocytes, and erythrocytes. You know the brain is constant requirement of energy, so it is not depending on insulin. However, the GLUT4, which is insulin dependent glut transporter, it is always regulated by insulin. So when you have enough insulin, then only this transporter allowing glucose molecule to go inside cell and do their functions for energy harvesting purposes. Whereas in brain and erythrocytes, that is RBC in the brain and hepatocytes, the liver cells, they are not relying on the GLUT1. They have GLUT1 trans. They are not relying on insulin things, so they can directly sense glucose and can participate into energy production. In type 2 diabetes, GLUT4 is like having deficient, like GLUT4 is not proper, whether it is not properly working or the receptor level is down or there is a resistance, so leading to starving of cells and followed by cell death. These are all different type of fluid transporters which we have or which have all so far identified in human system. The GLUT1 is now I said that brain and the other part of the body which are constant require of energy and similarly they have low km. So when we talk about km is a Michaelis Menten constant, so low km means they have high affinity with the substance, and high km means there is a low affinity. However, somebody will take enzymology lecture and will educate you more about the km thing. GLUT2 is on liver, pancreatic beta cells, and small intestine. It's having high km, so they have less affinity with glucose. So it means whenever there is a high concentration of glucose available, that time only such transporters activate. So similarly, other transporters also having different functions. So it is not necessary that only a particular tissue having a single type of transporter. Like you can see, the GLUT3 could also be present in brain. So brain having different type of transporters, and they are whether insulin dependent, and some part of are also insulin independent. So and so forth. So they have all alternative arrangements. Like we have different arrangements in a particular function, particular system. We have like suppose I have a house, so every house having different entries and exit levels. Sometimes we have only one door and two windows. Sometimes we have two doors and single window. So similarly, each and every tissue or a system having different entry route of this energy molecule, so that in different conditions, different physiological conditions, these molecules internalize and maintain the liveliness or allowing cell to survive. Apart from, we have different type of glutes, which are modulated groups or where their variants in small intestine and linear tube as well. We talk about the glycolysis. Glycolysis is a take part in all type of cells. So you know that in early development of the organisms, the environment was very hostile, low oxygen. So glycolysis is the very oldest pathway, and it doesn't require oxygen to for running. So that's why we have glycolysis anaerobic, or we call glycolysis aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis. However, in glycolysis, we do not require oxygen. Also, you know that in forensic investigations, like you must have heard that in Western population, there is a nuclear family or single living concept is very much common. So many old people die because of diabetic shock. And if you die because of diabetic shock, uh, it is very tough to identify whether what was the uh, your glucose level in body during your death, because after death also your RBCs continue glycolysis. They do not require. So after death also, if your RBC all the glucose level utilized, and it is not you cannot identify the exact blood sugar glucose level after death. So in that case, in forensic medicines, the experts use vitreous fluid of eyes, because it is a avascular system only in the human body, and that glucose level is exactly depicting the exact glucose serum level at the time of death. So all body parts use glycolysis, enzyme present in cytosomal fractions. Yes, it is all cytosolic process. The final product is pyruvate, and pyruvate fate is determined on the presence of oxygen. If it is oxygen present, it internalizes into TCA, followed by energy production and CO2 in water. If oxygen is not present, it go into lactate productions in human, and in alcohol methanol alcohol production in yeast. And then tissue lacking mitochondria majorly follow glycolysis for their energy production. In glycolysis, we produce total 4 ATP. However, in the first 5 stage, we have to provide ATP. So, 2 ATP we have to we have taken as in debit, so we have to provide again. So only net gain is 2 ATP. So with that much energy is sufficient for small cells like RBC. However, it is not sufficing need for other cells. That is why TCA evolved. Very essential for brain depending on glucose for energy. So brain using glycolysis as well as other pathways for energy production, because brain require constant energy. So each and normally, I think, yeah. So normally a human being require 120 gram to 200 gram glucose per day. 200 gram glucose per day. From 200 gram glucose, 120 gram glucose require brain. You know, brain require major part of energy every day compared to your muscles and other parts. So that's why it has many transporters and having hexokinase also, which is concentration independent enzyme. Glycolysis is a central metabolic pathway of all cells. Reversible glycolysis results in gluconeogenesis. So if glycolysis is not running and you do not have glucose in your body, gluconeogenesis is coming from fashion. So your body utilizes stored protein and lipid for energy production, and that is actually a loss to you majorly. Uh, so when your body, especially in cancerous condition, not following oxygenated pathway, that is aerobic glycolysis, and they go into anaerobic pathway. That is, so in that there is a more lactic acid produced, and if lactic acid produce more, your blood acid or the homeostasis, disturbed. So this process called lactic acidosis. So normally we have 4 to 15 mg per dl lactic acid in the body. However, during strenuous exercise, sort of shock, respiratory diseases, cancer, ratios like changing, and there is more lactic acid production, so leading to a collapsing of the circular system, myocardial infarction, that is heart attack, pulmonary embolism, uncontrolled hemorrhage, or severe shock, or sort of different pathologies leading to death. In cancerous condition, I told you that increased uptake of glucose and glycolysis because these cells need to develop themselves fastly compared to the normal development, and that's why they utilize glucose like anything through the glycolysis. Because cancerous cells always like hypoxia condition, that is anaerobic glycolysis, and as the tumor increases, because the involvement of this is HIF, hypoxia inducing factor, is involvement, and it is allowing the tumor to grow in the central part of the tumor having hypoxia environment, and they use more glucose glycolysis to grow them to produce energy. So most of the medicines nowadays using to inhibit vascularization. So somehow we can providing oxygen, and there is also oxygen therapy is in fashion to treat solid and aggressive tumors. So this fashion, like where you have enough oxygen, where have you anything, however, still the cancerous cells utilize follow this lactate pathway. It is called Warburg effect. So Warburg effect is a characteristics of cancerous cells where you have all these not following aerobic pathway and following lactate. So in many questions also people have asked, or in like recently also, like in last 2 years, I think in DBT JRF has been asked what is Warburg effect there. So should not be confused that what is a Warburg effect. It is common phenomenon. Similarly, we have another effect that is called partial effect, where is inhibition of glycolysis by oxygen. So fructokinase is the second enzyme of this pathway, whereas a glucose 6-phosphate converted into fructose 6-phosphate is playing role in, and then there's a Crabtree effect. So phenomena of oxygen consumption by addition of glucose to tissue having high aerobic glycolysis. These are common pathways which are uh, like can be seen in many conditions, specifically in cancerous conditions and other pathologies. So Krebs is inhibition of oxygen consumption by addition of glucose to tissues having high aerobic glycolysis is known as Krebs effect. Then formation is a part called glycogenesis. So things of glycogen take place in cytosol and require UTP and ATP also, but this is the only pathway which is utilized as UTP as an energy source so far known. And yeah, it's just a polymer of glucose and attaching with the UDP. This is actually glycogen is nothing as the UDP glucose monomers attaching each other and having chain. So whenever there is a glycogen depletion, I think I have yeah. So whenever there is a glycogen depletion, so one molecule of glucose release at a time, not all the molecules. There are many congenital metabolic disorders of glycogen storage that is called like type of. So we have their name as per their scientists honor. So Von Greek, Pompey, Corey, Anderson, McArdle diseases. So they have very enzyme, truncated enzyme or defect in enzymes leading to the stored glycogen cannot be utilized. So your body can store glycogen but cannot utilize further for the energy production and leading to weakness. Specifically, in all these glycogen storage, you can see that there is a liver enlargement majorly. So that is called hepatomegaly. Megaly means your organ enlarged. So hepatomegaly is a major common phenomena in all of these. So there are total 8 type of glycogen storage diseases, and almost all having hepatomegaly, and commonly and other muscle weaknesses has been seen, like have been seen in all these things. And they have varied enzyme deficiencies. So this is how we cannot utilize stored glycogen. These are few pictures which you can see that kids having enlarged liver is commonly seen, and yeah, you can also see that there's a enlarged liver, and there are other facial features and like retarded brain behavior and other things. One thing is very common and also in facial features that you can, I don't know that here is, I forget to mention, but this portion, which like from the first nostril to the first lip, that is called planthrium. So planthrium is a very much distinct in all these patients of metabolic disorders. Also, they have low nasal bridge, the bridge which is connecting to the forehead and the this. So they have low nasal bridge, and the distinct planthrium is a very much common in all metabolic patients. So you can identify easily. Now the next thing is galactose. Galactose metabolism is again, it is like I said, that it is very much required for early brain development. So there are many reports also, because like yeah. Anyway, so galactose is like, it's a very short pathway, and it's galactose converted to galactose 1 phosphate by kinases enzyme. So whenever you are adding phosphate, you always remember that there is some kinase involved in that. So then
Sir,
again,
post-harvest management, no title.
You are in wrong group, Trilok Reddy ji. This is not management webinar. This is different webinar. I don't know how you have got this link. This is not management webinar. That's why we check this Google form and then we send certificate, because people are joining and then they ask certificate. Even you are not knowing today's seminar topic. Since you are here, that's why I have conveyed. Otherwise, I remove from the Google form. Are you getting? This is different topic. This is not management topic. This is science topic.
oh,
Please
okay,
continue,
so
Akhilesh ji. Please
yes,
continue.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you similarly, like the galactose converting into, so whenever, see, again I am like little bit also informing that how enzymes being nomenclaturized. So kinases are always known for adding phosphate groups, and then transferases always transferring the um, things like functional group from one to the another way, isomerizing, and there is also called isomerases also. So they have also kind of similar functions. So galactose converted into glucose, and then glucose 6-phosphate, followed by the glycolysis. So this is how kids which are having on, depending on the milk for their energy sources, are producing energy through the glycolysis. So you have, you know, that there is a called lactose intolerance, which like people are not able to digest milk sugar. Probably they are lacking lactose dehydrogenase, or there is some, or either the completely lacking this enzyme, or there is a truncated, or the gene is not functioning due to some other reasons. Could be stress, could be some infection and all. So lactose is a disaccharide present in milk, principal source of galactose. Lactose in intestinal mucosal cells hydrolyzes lactose to galactose and glucose. And this galactose being utilized by the pathway which I just shown. So yes, and when within cell, galactose is produced by lysosomal degradation of glycoproteins and glycolipids. So glycoproteins and glycolipids further having membrane and different receptor functions. So that disease, various diseases are associated with galactose or lactose metabolism, that is called galactosemia. So deficiency of glucose, galactose 1 phosphate, and this transferases enzyme. So increase galactose level. So increase galactose level again affecting liver. So you can see mental retardations and hepatomegaly in these cases. Similarly, you have galactokinase deficiency, the enzyme which is not converting into this, and so you have galactosemia, that is galactose concentration is more in serum. So whenever you see a word semia, it means there is a particular molecule is more in serum. So since it is not properly digested, it come into serum and you have galactosemia. So if such sugars are for prolonged time, they are affecting cellular membrane, leading to like somehow cell membrane permeability is also affected. If it is more in urine, it is called galactosouria. So again, your kidney filters are affecting because these sugars change filtration and cell permeability. Loss of weight in infants because the body is not able to utilize energy and they use for other sources. So weight loss is very much common in infants. Hepatomegaly, hepatosplenomegaly means their liver is also enlarged and the spleen power portion is also enlarged because of accumulation of toxic products. And since the liver is not properly working, jaundice and sort of liver problems can be seen. And you know that since there is no much energy source produced by the system, and brain is not like the liver is not also providing supportive energy source to brain, so there is a mental retardation and other complications like cataract and also can be seen. So in that case, we can give removal of lactose and lactose from the diet and or lactose from diet, or also can give additional outside enzyme replenishment tablets so that the metabolic or the digestive part of galactose and lactose can be taken care by the enzymes. Just now I said that only sperm cell can use fructose for the energy purpose. Rest of cells use glucose, but sperm cells having a like a specific system that is called sorbitol polyol pathway. So sorbitol pathway is used fructose. Fructose is one of the sweetest sugar ever in all carbohydrates, and it is since it is obtained from fruits earlier, it is like so that's why it's called fructose. So conversion of glucose to fructose via sorbitol pathway, and also many like it is not necessary that you eat fructose, but your body, specifically sperm cells, can convert it to the pathway. So glucose to sorbitol reduction by enzyme aldolase, and so this is how specialized cells also generate energy. Very recent publications, I think I have mentioned. Oh, sorry, no, I forget. So very recent publication in Nature also saying that few of brain cells can also
और कितने
convert.
स्लाइड हैं?
सर कितना टाइम बचा है?
9
Oh, time.
मिनट। ठीक है, देख लीजिए।
ठीक है, मैं थोड़ा पास जाता हूँ, चलिए.
ठीक है,
So
ठीक।
fine. So this is how fructose metabolism can be taken care. Uh, like similarly, we have also some amino acids we call these are galactosamines and monosamines, salicylic acid, and they are called amino acids or glucogenic amino acids. So they also like participate in carbohydrate metabolism. So that the the glucose molecule or carbohydrate molecule joining with the amines and participating into this. So they have varied functions like glycoproteins and all signaling and other molecules. So that we call amino sugars. So like recently, this also I come across with some papers so that they have asked various glycosamines also like so. I have listed that hyaluronic acid, chondrotrins, keratin sulfate, and these are all glycosamines, and they have varied functions. So long you know that they have uh, like signaling. The heparin is an anticoagulant and all and sort of functions in the body, so extracellular matrix and migratory potential and anticoagulant potential. So this is all mucopolysaccharide diseases where that like there are total 7 types. Sorry, 9 types. So in that also again the some of the enzymes are affecting, and again you can see hepatomegaly is majorly seen in patients. And yeah, just now I said that how you will identify metabolic person. So this is low, like you can see short forehead, distinct frenulum, and very low nasal bridge can be seen in many disorders. So one of the Mueller-Hunter disorder of mucopolysaccharides. So that mucopolysaccharides are stored in the body and not able to digest by the system. This is all we have discussed how glucose being utilized by the system, and yeah, few hormones also like how glucagon and other hormones are regulating carbohydrate metabolism, so affecting this leading to diabetes and other metabolic processes. Apart from uh, glucocorticoids and epinephrine, are these are like neurotransmitters and other stress hormones also triggering glucose production during in condition where you are excited, you are feeling fear, or in disease condition. And sex hormones and other hormones also triggering glucose productions, because in all these conditions you require energy. So again, they are somehow directly or indirectly controlling carbohydrate metabolism. These are the conditions which having like hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. So hyperglycemia means your body is not having much glucose. Hypoglycemia means your glucose condition is like having too much. Yeah, all this we discuss, diabetes and all. I think, sir, I think I am part of is over. So this is yeah, this I want to just discuss one more thing. You know that this is a normal glucose metabolic pathway. So like without eating, you can survive till 40 days. How? Because like your stored glucose can be used. So like every meal, after meal there is a 4 hour between. After that your body start depleting glycogen. This is called glycogenolysis. And it like and then again your body start gluconeogenesis, like production of glucose from fat and proteins. So till 40 days you can survive. In between your body produce ketone bodies, that is called as hydroxybutyrate and acetone and all these things. And that is why in severe diabetes condition your body shows fruiting smell because of ketone bodies. So this is how a single cell can moderate their energy level. This is all the tissues how they utilize carbohydrate in different ways, and changing in their metabolic pathways leading to disease progression. This is all. Thank you.